Hello. Welcome to Beyond the Veil, a podcast by Prevail Church. I'm your host, Jonathan Wagner. Tonight I'm here with Logan Adams.
What's up?
And Pastor Fred Giles.
Yeah.
The purpose of this podcast, in case you don't know, is to help us be humble.
What?
It's to give you a chance to ask questions.
Ask questions.
Please ask them. Please.
Yeah, it's also a chance to hopefully draw you a little bit closer to Jesus in your walk with God.
Close to Jesus.
People are going to ask questions. People ask questions.
Well, I'm going to answer the first question right off. We just recorded a half hour of beautiful, not
majestic.
recorded stuff.
It was majestic. That was some of the most profound
So y'all are
things
giving
I ever
us like
said.
a half hour in, so we're already like full of conversation.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I can't repeat what I said. It was one
And
of a
these are
kind.
unscripted, man.
It was
so we don't-
artwork.
you know,
That's
we
right.
don't-
But I will say, it's the week before Christmas.
That's right. It is the
It
week
is the
before
week before
Christmas.
Back there.
Yeah, that's where we started, right?
We started out with, the week before Christmas
Towards
and
the
all
week
through the
before
house.
Christmas. And Logan said, that sounds like the making of a horror story or something.
Something like that.
I forgot all about
What's
that.
all coming back, guys?
Christmas.
We're going to say it word for word.
Darkness ruled the
no.
land.
28 minutes.
Didn't I
but-
talk about Saint Nick slapping someone? I did. I
Yeah.
did.
You did.
Talk about Mad
thing.
Santa.
You did talk about
Mad
that at
Santa,
some point
that's right. See,
in time.
we're hitting it back again.
St. Nick slapping a heretic.
Yeah.
All right.
Slap
all right.
a heretic
All right.
this Christmas.
All right. No.
That's
not
my
do
next ugly sweater.
As one of our favorite quotes from the series of Bring Joy to Your World is, don't punch somebody in the throat.
That's fair. That's fair. Jesus/God ain't a pimp. He ain't
Yeah.
pimping you.
I
You
mean-
don't need to dance for him to get his approval.
Come on, somebody.
That's right. And
I found that in my spirit.
I got to feel like I say this for legal reasons.
Jesus don't need you to shake that spiritual booty.
That's right. Do not slap a heretic. Do not shake your spiritual booty. This is not what Prevail's about, y'all.
John was like, what have I done with my life?
Man, why did we not record the first half?
Oh boy. Makes life fun, interesting.
This is a great podcast already. Man, some
Now, well, we
quotable
were talking
moments.
about how some Christians actually view God as a pimp.
Yeah, that's right.
Or I would say that. I would argue that some Christians do view him.
Terminology.
Terminology.
Let's put this in Christianese. People say,
An abusive daddy.
I have to do this so that God will love me.
Right. Pimp.
Or God will bless me.
Pimp.
And then when God blesses me, I'll do stuff for God.
Pimp.
Well,
Yes,
Yeah.
you keep saying that over
no,
and over.
he ain't wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
I was trying to make it more palatable, for
Yeah. If Uncle Sam, the
No.
capitalistic propaganda image, was your daddy, that's how you treat him. That's right. You perform for God like it's a meritocracy. But nah, man, this is socialist spiritual love.
already.
That's right.
We already talk about religion on this podcast. Now he wants to do into politics.
Oh man, Logan's choosing violence.
The only thing we haven't talked about yet is sports.
Ooh, don't get me started on
Let's
hand egg.
listen.
Oh wait, hand egg? No, you call it football. Anyway, it looks like an egg, y'all, and you use your
What?
hands.
Hand egg?
Yo, have you seen that thing? It's a weird shaped egg. You use your hands. There ain't no feet and bowls. I'm just saying, I'm gonna throw controversial things out.
Yeah, we need that.
Back to our schedule,
Definitely need that.
regularly scheduled program.
Logan's choosing violence tonight.
Hand
All right,
egg.
so the series that we've just wrapped up
what in
was
the
Bring
world?
Joy to Your World. And obviously this brings joy to Logan's
Logan.
world.
That's right.
Now we did establish that Logan doesn't go out and enjoy
I'm not
Christmas,
a big Christmas lights guy.
Or hand egg.
Hand egg is a sport. That's right. He's found the buttons.
However,
All right.
Back on top.
there have been some beautiful Christmas lights.
Yeah,
There are some, it's
tradition
nice.
for our family
It's
to go on Max's
tradition to
birthday.
go and just see them and enjoy and appreciate
My
and see
neighborhood's
what
lit.
people do. I mean, there is one thing that's pretty cool. It's actually a pretty cool story down on downtown Greenville on East Earl Street. I saw an article about this. There was this lady who, I don't know if she has a terminal illness or her husband did. I think her husband did. And her neighbor's like, what can we do for you? And she found this big, huge inflatable Santa, a picture of it, and she said, this just makes me happy. There are 40 people up and down that 2.5 blocks that have these big, giant Santa Clauses in their front yards.
About that.
That's where it's at.
It's really cool. I mean, it's just community, and they did it simply.
You said Earl Street?
Yeah, East Earl Street.
Okay.
Didn't we talk about last week about loving people where they're at and how they need to be loved in this holiday season for joy? Amen. That's the community
and
doing that.
That's where that is.
Look at that. Looking like Jesus.
So I mean,
right.
And you drive down, it's like, and there's some of those little houses that don't have any other lights. They just have a big old lit up Santa Claus in the front yard, and other ones that are completely decked out. But
as Paul said to the Greeks, you already know Jesus, y'all. You just don't have a name to him yet. Wow. They're loving their community like Jesus. Look at that. Look at that.
All right now.
So,
all right, Greenville.
so yeah.
Man,
you can do that. Call out that. Go down to East Earl Street and
East Earl Street, Greenville, South Carolina.
It's a skinny, narrow little road, and you kind of got to pull over sometimes so other people can pass.
Wow,
but it is pretty cool.
Yeah, we have to go see that. Yeah, no, I love me some Christmas lights. I decked out my house this past weekend.
Oh, I'm gonna have to drive by your house and see it.
I still need to see your house at nighttime.
I decked out my house. I put 2 little Christmas trees on either side of the front door, and the Christmas tree up on the inside. That's it.
I got a Christmas tree.
I used to put lights up on around the porch and across the garage, and a bunch of them burned out one year, and I'm like,
get away with it. You can get away with that. I can't. My son watches Christmas lights on TV. For entertainment.
He's into it. He really into it.
You realize that, let's see, Max just turned 10, right?
That's right.
So within the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to be that house that's got 27,000 lights all hooked up with the controllers and the music and the spotlights.
You're going to be like Texas with your own
already asked me if we can get on America's Great Laser Fight or whatever.
Yeah, so Fred is going to be. There was a movie that came out. I can't remember what it was called. The guy wanted to have his house be so lit up with Christmas lights it could be seen from the space station. That's going to be Fred's house. So.
I have a very big Christmas tree in my front yard.
Yeah, kind of do. You could.
I want to
deck that thing out,
but I would have to get like a lift and all this stuff and I want to put ornaments and wrap that whole thing.
Bro, I got my climbing rig. Just throw me up there. It'll be right.
I'm telling you, that would be the talk of the town right there.
That would be something.
I will give up my Grinchness for community. I will help you deck your house.
My neighbors would be mad.
Yeah, you'd be glowing the street up.
They'd be like, for real, all these people we up here in the cut. Ain't nobody over here.
Everybody else, the problem is Fred will turn it on, and everybody else's lights will go boom.
Man, they'll be glowing through the wall. The light's so bright, the X-ray in the frame of the house.
But I can just see Max saying, "All right, we got to set up this control. We're going to do this music.
Oh,
we're going to have
every year.
He's going to have 16-foot speakers, and
every year it gets more and more.
Yeah, so
that's good.
Just be prepared, man. Just be prepared. It'll be cool. We'll support you. We'll stand at the end and go,
well done, well done. My good and faithful servant.
My good and faithful Christmas lighter.
That's right.
So.
Oh, man.
But we had a lot of conversation about
we had so much conversation earlier. Y'all missed the good stuff.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about what
I got a segment we can do.
What you got?
Will lead us into kind of what we did last time. Maybe we take about 10 minutes and let's just share a meme. Or something you saw on social media that spoke to you this last.
Well, why don't you go first?
What you got?
Want me to go first?
Yeah,
I gotta go first.
Yeah, you
asked the question, man.
I gotta go first.
Yeah, you gotta go
Who
first.
smelt the delta? What you got?
No, I saw this thing this week. I think it was today, actually. Jesus, y'all know that meme where Jesus is talking to other people, and they do the quote bubbles, and it had this quote in it that says, "Beware of those who preach unconditional love," and then underneath it said, "Things Jesus never said."
Right.
Things Jesus
That's
never
good.
said.
Yeah, that kind of spoke to me.
There's a lot of things that Jesus never said that we gotta.
That one spoke to me because of kind of what I was talking about before we realized we weren't recording. That last week, one of the revelations I had, one of the things that I really like for my message, which sounds so prideful to say. But one of the things that spoke to me was when I was talking about how God, the title of the message was Grace for Greatness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how God sometimes will delay so he can develop for your destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Delay, develop destiny. And I was saying, if we believe that God has a plan, not for us, but with us in mind,
Right.
right? And there's a difference. There's a
That's a
difference
big
because
difference,
people
yeah.
go, God got a plan for my life. God ain't forcing you to do nothing. He has a plan with you in mind.
That's right.
He has a plan for the whole world with everybody in mind.
And
Now, you
Jack.
can get a part of that plan if you want to, but he ain't like, hey, if you go left, then I will leave you or forsake you. No, he actually says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. But I was just telling him, Sunday, like, he has a plan with us in mind. And so if he has a plan with us in mind, then we also have to believe that God accounts for the haters that come with the destiny, right?
Right. It counts for the struggle.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was, just reflecting over my ministry journey and some of the folks that have been vicious in their comments and some of the things they say and have done, and some friends that I thought were friends that, later learned they were bad-mouthing me, running my name through the mud kind of thing, and they were preachers, pastors. Pastors up in the church house. And, just realizing that, but it was just kind of it was really a peaceful moment for me when studying, when that hit me, like, Fred, I accounted for those people too.
That's
Right.
good.
I accounted for the hurt, the rejection, the loneliness, the depression,
All of those things, yeah.
like God, I'm not saying he caused it, but he accounted
He
for it.
accounted for it.
Yeah.
Like he knows, this is gonna this could potentially happen for you.
Well, it's like Bishop Jamie was saying, God breathed,
Right.
the word.
Right.
Like 2/3 of the book of Job.
Right.
It wasn't God saying it.
Right.
In fact, he came and said, that wasn't
Right.
that wasn't it. I will say this, just so you know, so other people know, anybody who's ever preached a message, if it doesn't speak to you,
Oh yeah.
then what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If you're just regurgitating dogma to a crowd, are you preaching,
yeah, I mean,
or are you being a cult leader?
oh, ouch.
Gonna throw that out there.
God ain't no pimp.
Keeps throwing stuff out
God
there.
ain't no pimp. Oh man, I just saw the Ellis screenshot I took, and I'm really conflicted about which meme I want to share now because they are both amazing, and they both hit to what I said actually. For those who are magically listening to the half hour we didn't record earlier, I threw
Some of the lost tapes.
a little salty. It was good, man. That was some fire stuff. No. I gave this quote from Bell Hooks. I'm often struck by the dangerous narcissism fostered by spiritual rhetoric that pays so much attention to individual self-improvement and so little to the practice of love within the context of community. And that just is fire. Like, you're spiritually narcissistic if your love that you're learning and receiving from God doesn't flow out from you, which smacks home. But I want to share this other one.
All right.
It's, if your spirituality is a self-improvement plan emptied of collective care and advocacy for the oppressed, you can rightfully be suspicious of it. We don't get free alone.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is spicy.
That one's
That is spicy.
deep and layered.
Yeah, it is.
My
Yeah,
God.
it is. Because, man, Jesus didn't go to individuals and save them. Jesus didn't say, hey, collective individuals come together and have a little community about being saved and only saved. Ooh, no, Jesus healed the sick. Jesus healed the slaves.
He raised the dead.
Yo, we love to quote the Sermon on the Mount, but we hate to go back right before we start preaching on it. And the verses prior talking about who he was actually speaking to. Because we just like, oh, there's a crowd. We assume it was Jews. His disciples were there. Pharisees were there. But nah, he was talking to everyone from the entire region because he had been followed by crowds because he had been healing the oppressed, and no nation or creed mattered to him.
Right.
Constantly throughout his thing, he's constantly breaking social norms. And we create a social bigotry in our sermons when we say, nah, he was just talking to the Pharisees, he was just talking to Jews because he was in Israel. We forget Israel wasn't Israel at that time, and it hadn't been for a long time.
Well, he
Still
was
really isn't,
in
but it's a different
Galilee at that
conversation.
time, so
Yeah, exactly.
There
And it was part of the Roman Empire, which had been part of, I mean, even, man, history's my jam, so we won't go too deep, but like, when Jesus is out there preaching and healing and helping in Matthew, when he's telling his disciples how to be like him, what to do, when he sends them out to heal, right? Like, he's not saying this is just a one-track path for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
He's calling us to love others as he loved us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned it like the first podcast. Like, upon knowing I had white privilege, I had a deep burning desire to destroy it, because you can't have, and this is where the advocacy part of that quote comes in for me. If someone has a privilege above another, that is inherently not the kingdom of God. The kingdom is a living playing field. There's no conditions to who you are, to what status you are in society. We don't talk about that in America. We've got this weird phobia of talking about a caste or class system. Thank you, 70 years of Cold War, But like, we do. We have social structures in place. How I talk, I'm the fun-sized candy bar. It lets me talk to people who are above my station socially in a lot of ways, right? And all that. If we can't express God's love across the board, rich and poor, ethnicity, race is a construct, but race because it affects our world, nationality, if we can't have that, man, is it love? Is it Jesus? Is it the kingdom?
It made me think about that meme I sent earlier.
Oh yeah.
What was it, last night?
This was last night. That was fire.
Says, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you don't have a biblical worldview.
Yeah.
You have a worldview shaped by your subculture's interpretation of Christianity that's shaped by whiteness, individualism, patriarchy, and capitalism.
Yeah, preach.
ouch.
It ain't wrong, sir.
Samuel Perry, The Happy Givers. I don't know if that's a...
I'm gonna have to look up Samuel Perry because I remember reading that and be like, bro.
That's-
But I said facts. That's right.
Pretty intense.
My
Yeah.
God.
It's true though. You think about it. Our entire dogma the last 300 years has been in a economic system of prosperity where others in other countries slave away for our benefit.
Right.
All the sugar in our diet comes from semi-slavery still in the Caribbean. Oh man, it's still happening. It's still happening.
Well, and the Bible is
Yeah.
very supportive of the ideal of community.
That's
And
right.
as I was saying earlier, healthy individuals make healthy communities.
Yeah, the lost
Healthy-
tapes.
Healthy community makes healthy individuals.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Understanding what a healthy individual looks like is the challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because healthy means you're aware of your privileges, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You're aware of your quirks, your own issues, right?
Yeah.
You're aware of these different things, but at the same time, if you're aware of that, you know how to operate within the confines of a community,
Yeah.
Right.
and but most people don't know that,
No.
so it shapes their worldview, and then they treat themselves like God, or they treat God like a pimp. Throw that in there again.
Hashtag we prevail. Dude, God is not a pimp.
Well, and people have to be aware of the way their actions and reactions affect their community
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and affect others and Jesus was very much aware of how he affected the community.
Oh yeah, very intentional in his stuff.
I would argue that there was not a single thing that's recorded that Jesus did that wasn't intentional.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
He was a mastermind too, like, because up until he died on the cross, he followed the law,
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
which is what the people there needed.
And he followed it to the letter,
Right.
and he would still do things that people are like, that's not the law. He's like, you're right, it's not.
Exactly.
It's not in the law.
Exactly. Exactly.
And they're like, what do we do?
And
with
then
that?
when he after that, it's like,
Lower no more.
man,
He came back.
Yo.
He's like, what are you going to do? Kill me?
Yo, but in seriousness, what you just said, I just got my mind racing here. Talking about Jesus and acting within the law, and that's what the people needed and all that, and then going into how we interpret the Bible from our subculture. 2 years ago, a year ago, I don't know, at our old space, I remember doing a sermon, and I said, you can't create an ethical compass of the Bible. Because Jesus fulfilled the letter of the law, and we try in the modern church to fulfill the spirit of the law, because we don't actually stick to the letter of the law. We wear mixed fabrics. We don't do the stuff we need to. If it's that time of a month for a woman, we don't treat them that way.
Pimp.
We don't. We don't pimp. Not in this church. But but for real, like, we love the spirit of the law. We love to say, well, that's sexually immoral, or that's wrong because God said don't rape other men, right? Which was a power dynamic thing, not a concept of sexuality.
Let's not rape up.
That's not upright. That's not rape at all.
Let's
not rape.
let's not just.
We don't
let's
need
just
to be
not.
raped.
But the
at all.
Bible, the church takes it as, well, that's homosexuality today in our cultural context. Back then, it was a hospitality thing. When a guest would come into your town, you don't abuse them and rape them like they tried to in Sodom, because the Bible actually expressly said God was angry because of their lack of hospitality.
Right.
But we don't read that part, so we ignore that and we throw it to our modern context, and now we hate people with a pride flag. And so, going back to Jesus and all this and what I preach, you can't make...
We wish you
Man, you'll see Logan off tonight. But no, for real. You can't make an ethical compass or an ethical checklist off the Bible, because when you're trying to go through, does this tick this box to make this so I can do this okay, love has already started walking in the right direction.
Right.
Because when we start doing ethical constructs off the Bible or even off Jesus, we're still interpreting his actions based off our understanding culturally, what we were raised in, what we've been taught, what we have a predisposition
Well, that's
for.
how we understand everything.
That is.
Right.
And so this is where love transcends all.
Right.
Because
love
love
does.
starts walking even when you don't have a compass bearing.
Right. And love transcends all, and it doesn't mean you can't be inspired.
Oh, no. I'm
By
not throwing
those
out
things.
none of
Right,
that.
right.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you
I
can't
just
be
wanted to say
inspired.
that
Yeah,
for somebody
real.
like, Logan said,
That's right. Logan got real wild.
I've discovered another type of privilege that I didn't know existed. It's called a Kiwi privilege. So,
Right.
It's true,
Me
yo. I
and
can say
Johnson
stuff.
talked about a privilege he had yesterday.
What's your
You
privilege?
Mm-hmm.
remember that? You're driving with the top down.
Oh, wow.
Let
got
your beard flow through the
That's
wind.
right. The wind just rustling in feathers.
Beard flow through the wind.
why
Speeding
you gotta
on-
bring up stuff like
Speeding
that?
on the back road.
That's right. That
Not
convertible,
that back of the
sir.
road.
And he gets pulled over, and the officer's like, just slow down, man.
Just slow down. You're in a convertible with a beard. You're okay.
And I just looked and I go, You want me to tell the people what I said? Do you want me to tell the people what I said?
Can you say it on a podcast?
You want me to tell them what I
He
said?
can say it on the
I said-
podcast.
I said, must be nice to be white.
Ooh, sir.
I'm joking now.
Nah.
I was joking with him.
He got points.
But Jonathan was like, well,
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Probably.
Yeah, I have the privilege to be able to say all this smackdown, and Fred's got to come back behind me and be like, to be clear, he wasn't hating the Bible.
Right.
I do this a lot to Fred. Fred's got to clean up my statements.
People be like, I'm going to leave the church if you don't get Logan in. Come on, man.
Y'all listen to what he said for the next 50 words before that one cool statement.
Right.
I give you a lot of context to my words, y'all. You just like to hear the controversial thing.
Jonathan, you got to share a meme.
Oh, yeah, it's your turn, bro. Sorry, I went off on a big tangent.
Meme.
What's
any good memes?
Anything.
I don't got no meme.
You got
Come
no
on,
memes,
man, before
bro.
we go to break,
I know
before
you
we
on
go to break.
Instagram.
I be seeing what you be.
Insta what?
All right, you still on
I'm
Facebook.
old.
You on Facebook. It's cool.
I be
It's cool.
seeing what you be posting.
I mean, okay, damn it.
Something that spoke to you this week.
It
Well,
hits you home.
This was a pretty good thing. Let me pull it up here. I got to find it real fast.
I will serenade you.
You know,
Not the
I'm
D&D.
not- I'm not gonna call
the
him too
D&D
old.
stuff here.
He's not too old because he ain't swiping with the finger like the old people do. He's using his thumb.
I wonder how
Of
big.
course.
I wonder how big the letters is on the screen.
Oh, wow.
Not very.
Oh,
Not
okay.
very.
That's not bad. That's not bad. You still young?
Geez,
Young
I'll
at
tell
heart,
you
my
what.
Still
friend.
got them.
Yeah.
Still got them youngin' eyes.
That's right.
All right, let's see here. What was that one that said? Now, no, I do. My eyes, on the other hand,
Right.
are getting old.
The
He's
spirit,
like, I
the
still
spirit
got,
is willing,
I
but
still
the
got
body.
youngin' eyes.
Okay, this is a quote that I had actually posted on Facebook from Amelia Earhart, of all people.
All right.
A single act of kindness throws out roots in all directions, and the roots spring up and make new trees.
Wow.
I like that.
It's like that
That is
concept
inspirational.
of paying for somebody in the drive-thru behind you.
Yeah.
You ever done that? I've done
I
that.
have done that.
Just see how far it'll go.
I know somebody who heard the person behind them being really just obnoxious when they were ordering, and they got up to the window and they said, "Hey, I'm going to pay for theirs, but I want it too."
Wow.
Wow.
And the people in the drive-thru were like, "Okay."
That's fair. That's fair. Hey, you paid for the goods, you get the goods.
So they got
You know.
there and they're like, "Where's our food?" And they're like, "They
They bought it.
bought it.
They
took
bought it. You know, you
So
didn't
you gotta
have
go
a
back around again.
Yeah, you didn't have a reservation.
That's
on that food.
crazy.
That's wild.
Man.
So that puts some roots out there.
That's
will-
some good
that will
roots.
make
That's some
some-
good
that will make me
roots.
a
Oh my
little fan.
lord! Could you imagine?
Oh,
That's where those videos you see online of people jumping through the drive-through windows.
Just choosing violence. Yeah, those chicken
Yeah.
McNuggets aren't enough. Shout out McDonald's chicken nuggets.
But I have done that. I've paid for the person behind me. I've
Oh,
tried
I thought,
to pay for
bro,
the
I
person
thought you were
behind
saying
me.
you jumped through the drive-through
No.
window.
No, I haven't done
It's
that.
like Jonathan.
No, I have
It's
not.
in that convertible.
He can. Man, he gets up there.
I tried to. There was a police car behind me in the drive-through one night, and I was like, I was going to pay for theirs, and they're like, oh, they get theirs for free anyway. I was like, oh, well, okay.
Man, they get free chicken McNuggets.
No, it was like coffee. I don't know.
No, so they get free coffee. I want some free coffee. I got
No,
free
they
coffee
get free
tonight.
coffee, man.
That's a good point. I know two roasters, so we cool. I get free coffee.
Speaking of roasters,
Ooh, it's time.
time for that break. I mean, we needed some farmhouse coffee tonight.
That's right. Tonight we
I
did.
had to wake up.
We got that farmhouse coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Farmhouse Coffee this evening.
Hit your boy up.
That's right.
Go visit farmhouse.
It'd be nice if they really sponsored it.
No, they don't really sponsor, but they keep us going.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I'd say they sponsor us because
It's powered
they
by
give us a
farmhouse.
yeah, powered.
We are powered by Farmhouse
We're not
Coffee.
really a sponsor because we don't have any sponsor. But if you want to be a
If you want to
sponsor,
sponsor us, let us know.
we'd love for you to sponsor us.
That's right.
That's right. I had some Guatemalan this morning. That's
That
delicious.
farmhouse coffee is good though. You can get some online if you want to check it out.
That's right.
What else we got? Oh yeah,
Well,
by the way,
we had the room for more
That's
offer.
right. That's right.
And can people still
yeah,
contribute
you can
to
still
that?
give online for that. You can still go check that out and be a part of that.
Because there is room for more.
room. Yeah, we got room for more.
It's
Yeah.
not only in the church, it's in our hearts, in the kingdom of God. There's room for more.
Visit online. You can go watch the whole service and you kind of see how that flowed. And
What's
stuff.
that about? Yeah. You said you had something to surprise us with.
Yeah, I'm a little scared now.
I'm really pumped for
It's
this.
Christmas, so maybe it'll be really.
So I was
it's a present, right?
Well, I was gonna, one thing is, for those listening, this will be the last podcast for this year.
Yep.
Right.
We're gonna kick off the new year with some new stuff.
Because I love y'all, but I'm not going to come record a podcast on Christmas night.
Right.
I'm open.
I want to stay married. But I also know that it's good to take breaks and everything, kind of recalibrate. And at the beginning of the year, we're gonna come out swinging. We'll talk about new year kind of new you kind of deal, and really kind of encourage and motivate. But one of the things that's really been on my mind is, like, if we're doing a podcast, it's probably smarter for us to talk a little bit about current events and things that are happening in the world. And, and so,
There's a lot of those.
Right. Ooh. And I know, there's a couple of things I want to bring up tonight because it's unscripted.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to go off.
I'm so excited.
But, and I know we won't get to unpack it all. But I did see one of the things was the Navy Federal thing.
Hey, my man.
Yeah, the Navy Federal thing, which I read about, and it really got me thinking. Now, a lot of it still, there's a lot of questions around it, I guess. I don't know.
I bet there is.
I imagine there's a lot of questions.
But they, they're what is it now? They're doing their, like, actual investigation into it.
They had complaints. Preliminary kind of investigative journalism happened as well. But now they're getting under the audit, bro. So,
investigative journalism? What's that?
Yeah,
Does that even exist anymore?
No, it's still there. They just don't broadcast it on CNN or Fox.
Right.
Sorry.
But, like, that was a big deal. And, I just...
Slap.
And really, the part of us talking about some of the current issues going on is to really look at it through the lens of I guess the Christian faith, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about it just to be political.
Nah.
No.
But we got to prep for next year. There is going to be a lot of political stuff happening.
It's coming.
Oh, it's an election year. It's coming.
And
Joy.
we want to give some balanced approach to important decisions that people have to make.
Right.
And there's a lot that I could say, have got to say. Well, I'm not going to say it from the pulpit, and so the point of this podcast is so we can talk about some of that.
Right.
But that Navy Federal thing, I don't know, man. I just when I saw that, I just thought to myself, wow,
man.
Then I thought to myself, the parallels of how the church functions similar.
Keep going. Keep going.
Like, we can't beat up Navy Federal because there are a lot of churches that do this and a lot of church organizations.
So are we just expecting people to just Google Navy Federal and figure out what the actual...
So Navy Federal, they toppled the king off their
the
throne.
high line, just the high point.
So Navy Federal Credit Union toppled the GOAT of systemic racism in banking. Wells Fargo.
Oh, man.
I'm going to throw them out. I'm going to throw them. Man, they ain't got my bank account, so I can say it. They don't have my money.
They do have the church bank account.
Oh, dang. We're in trouble. No. So Navy Federal, they overthrew the GOAT. They got the title. They're throwing a lot of little tweets out there, but they messed up. They messed up in a multi-year... there's a class action lawsuit coming against them. And let's put it this way. I'm trying to find the numbers I saw. 29% point gap between African Americans / minorities and white people getting approved for loans. 29 point gap is catastrophic, and
that's not statistical.
That is not a little minor errors in accounting. No, that is when I said that overthrew Wells Fargo has a history from the beginning of systemic racism when it comes to banking and minorities, right? Now, the problem with Navy Federal is because they're meant to service members, right? And this is where, again, America's systemic racism gets hit. The military recruits more predominantly in minority neighborhoods. Again, because there's a lack of hope, there's a lack of education, there's a lack of supplies, and it's a whole systemic racism thing in our society, which if you need me to say more, man, come on. But they recruit there, so you have a high proportion of minorities in the Navy than you would in the general populace. So you have a high proportion of minorities applying for loans. And so therefore you have a higher number of black people getting loans, minorities getting loans. So their stats initially look great.
Yeah, and we're talking about conventional loans.
Conventional home loans. And then for veterans, and then when they look into it, a 29% gap. So they got by on this goodwill of everyone like, oh, you give out more than most. But the problem is they get so many more applications. They can be that racist and still beat the other banks. A 29-point gap is... I just can't even comprehend
one of the things that
how they've gone away with this long.
How a white counterpart can be making $64,000 a year, and a black or brown person can be making 170. I think
something like that. It was wild,
and still get disapproved.
Yep,
that's crazy.
That is, and that. Oh,
and the story came out because there was this guy who filed for a house out in Texas, I think it was, and he was
denied.
They had approved.
They denied him.
Well, they had pre-approved him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
pre-approved him.
Yeah.
He went and got in the house. He was driving his kids by, and this is gonna be our house, blah blah blah. And then at the last minute, they
pulled.
They pulled it. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't they didn't really give him any reason why. And he's like, my credit score is near perfect.
Right. We scratching 800.
I make this amount of money. Blah blah blah.
Questions were raised.
And then he literally went from them to another bank and was approved in 2 weeks.
Yep. That's cool, which you don't get with banks, y'all.
Right.
That means he had his stuff together. You know what I'm saying?
He was. There ain't no excuse for this.
Yeah.
And so they, just begin to raise questions like, what is this? And then it
sounds like questions that need to be raised.
That wasn't the only story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the parallel for me, with the church is I'm just dealing with some of these church planting organizations.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Same idea.
Thing. They want you to have more ducks in a row to plant your church because you're black.
Yep.
And they won't make a white church do that. Or
even just the help that's offered. We're going to send you teams. We're going to find you a worship leader. We're going to do
none of that. None of that.
A lot of this stuff and I'm not saying that, that as a pastor starting a church, you shouldn't be willing to put in work, because you should.
Right.
But there are some disparities there. A huge divide, huge gap.
I'll speak to experience from being a part of a church plant in Colorado with a effectively white church. Let's put it that way. No, it wasn't an intentional thing, but it was an effectively white church trying to plant in a majority Latino unchurched zip code in Colorado. And man, churches, organizations, they were pouring help on us, sending teams out, funding this and that, and I just couldn't even keep up. I couldn't even keep up with it. I'm like, what? We have 40 people showing up from Texas to help us? Do what? Oh, community outreach? Right. Oh, wow. It was just out of nowhere. I couldn't even keep up with it.
And some of that, is the nature of being connected to networks and stuff like that. And I'll be real, I have a hard time connecting with some of these folks because I just don't align with a lot of them. And so
that's part of it, too.
Well,
that's part of it.
That's what I was thinking. You're going to send me a worship leader that I don't even know that we're on the same page?
Right. Well, they come and they're on your planting team. You get to know them. You do life together. You're going through the whole startup phase of it all. All that kind of stuff. But a lot of these networks, they want you to assimilate before they help you. instead of just helping you. Because, you know, that's the thing
Sounds
to
like
do,
church.
right? So, you make sure you think like us, you act like us. We want you to sound like us.
Sounds like the
to
Borg
look
to
like
me.
us, right?
Can conform to our image of what you should
Don't be
be.
your own individual self, and don't have a church that's you know
That's unique.
right?
Yeah.
You know, and then if you get on the line, we want to be able to come in and shut you down if we want to.
I never could understand how that's justified. And the reason, well,
Sorry.
I'm not even talking racist. I'm talking in general.
Oh, okay.
Because
Sorry.
communities
Yeah.
are unique. By definition, a different part of the body is going to be different than another part of the body.
I think I've spoken on this in like discussions before, maybe just one-on-one, but like how we have turned the church into a colonization, a weapon of colonization. Maybe I've spoken on here, I don't know. But when you colonize communities with the church, you go in as a virus. I have spoken about this.
Well, you've
I know
talked
I
about
have.
viral
Yeah,
Christianity.
viral Christianity. But you go in and you expect to conform the community to your image of what church and community should be. And so a lot of church planters are literally just being viruses for a dogma,
Right.
because that's where they get the funding from, the dogma. So when in this case, you go to one bank and you don't get approved because you don't fit what they feel their demographic should be. Let's put it nicely,
That's
but it's
what
racism.
we call redlining, right?
That's redlining. That's hard redlining. Like I said, they got the new
But they
crown.
did that. Like,
They've been doing it for years.
the crazy part is, I look at that and I think they're okay with it because it happens in church. It happens in the most important. And then you wonder how many of these executives attend churches.
Oh, every one of them. Every one of them
And,
go. Yep.
you know, like are Christ followers.
They just think it's
And
all right.
Yeah.
and even if they are not intentionally doing it, they haven't dealt with the processes that produce it.
Right.
So I was reading one of the things where it talks about the algorithms
Yep.
and the technology
Yep.
and how it needs to be updated so it's not discriminating.
Well, duh.
Right.
Because there are other banks that put into practice. So like in the black community, you don't have a lot of home ownership. You don't have a whole credit history. Doesn't show all of that, right?
Right.
You don't see that from the family. You don't see that anywhere. And a lot of this, you know, I'm just as a black man speaking from that. You're building credit as you're getting older, and you're coming from terrible situations and hard situations, and so your history doesn't look great, and you can have everything in a row. Like, you know, when me and Aaron got married, we lived in a house and paid $1,600 a month for a rental.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Never was late. Always, you know, and all the things, right? But none of that counted towards anything when we went to buy a house.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's and speaking like this is systemic racism. It's built into the system, and on top of that system, I mean, giving them the full benefit of the doubt. Let's say every single person there is a saint at Navy Federal. It's built into the system. Now we know that can't statistically be true, sadly, but it's built into the system. The credit scoring system is inherently racist because, as Fred alluded to, you come from a community background. Let's say you're an immigrant. Most American immigrants that come across here don't have the funds to walk in and throw 20% down to get them that advantage
Right.
where their credit history is non-existent. Let's say you're in the African American community or the Southern Latino community. Let's say you don't have a strong amount of wealth in your neighborhood or your family, home ownership prior. That's what they look for. Well, who's had that all this time? White folks. And I'm just going to put it that way, because it's true. That's true. Historic wealth is a problem because it's been denied to others. And a way to put that is privilege. Now, a way to put it again is the systemic. And another way to put it is this is a cultural. Well, you can put it 100 ways, but the only way to break it is to call, Navy Federal out.
Right.
And to really have a class action that really takes damage to them, to be honest.
I think on a systemic level, these things need to be called out. Now, we're not going to blame all white people. Like,
no, it's not.
You know,
I'm
you're
not.
the reason for this, because you're not.
No.
But systemically, this is a problem.
Right. And
it's an ongoing problem. It happens too often. Like, the thing with Wells Fargo happened, and everybody was like, "Oh," and then he got Navy Federal doing the same thing, even worse, under the radar. Probably what was going on with Wells Fargo.
Right. Oh, the whole time,
and nobody's saying anything, you know. And it's like we need to be in a world where these atrocities need to be called out. Like, well, that's not cool, man.
Can I speak to accountability too? Because we have this problem in this country.
You were quiet, Jonathan.
I'm thinking a lot.
Thinking about driving in that convertible on a lonely country road. Sorry, I love you, but no, accountability is a big thing, and it's a thing in the church because we think of accountability as calling out sin, right? That in the church context, like, man, I saw this on Instagram. It was like a little satire, like, "Hey, buddy, I saw you out there at Chili's, and I saw you drinking a margarita, and as your accountability partner, you know, like, haha." But it's for we think of as just calling out individuals on sin, but we don't call out the church on social sins, right? We don't, and we have a problem because every time someone who's oppressed in this country calls out a social sin, the boot comes down harder on their neck. Every time, every single time, right, and in the church as well. When individuals start calling out who are oppressed, think of all the churches where there's been sexual assault or abuse or emotional abuse. Every time those people come forward to the elders or to other prominent people in the church or to, like, you know, let's say you're a church plant and you go to the North American Mission Board, because that's a name that pops in my head. Not throwing them under any bus, I'm just saying. Let's say you go to them and say, "Hey, this church plant is doing these bad things and you need to call them out." You get silenced. Right. And we have an accountability problem in the church and in our community as a whole nationwide. Because every time we call out oppression in one form or another or a social sin, until it's to the breaking point of the dam, we don't deal with it. We would rather silence and put fingers in the holes in the dam instead of actually addressing the root problems.
Well, we have this thing called victim blaming.
Yeah, keep talking and keep going, sir.
So in
also
the situation of even in the banking stuff.
Yep.
Well, it's their fault because
they don't have ownership.
They don't have this because we don't allow for that, or victims of sexual assault, they shouldn't have dressed that way.
Right.
They were whatever. They were they were too friendly.
She should have known better.
We do it in the church too. You're going through because you being out there sinning.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you hadn't sinned, this wouldn't have happened.
Right.
All that BS.
Well, and even to the point where when something happens, like, well, have you not been praying? Do you not have enough faith? What do you?
Right. Oh man, yeah, no, that's a thing. That's a thing.
And that I have been guilty of doing that in times, catching myself going, "Oh,
right,
whoa, that's not. That's bad. That's not valid.
That's not how."
But it's something that we do on a regular. We're like, well, you must just not have enough faith.
Yeah.
But the blind dude, Jesus healed. They're like, well, what he do? What his parents do made him blind.
Right.
But
that legalism comes in deep.
But we do that victim blaming is what comes out, and it's a result of the systemic stuff. But it's also because we interpret things, and it's easier to blame the victim than it is to call out the. It's way easier to blame those people that didn't get loans because they're lost this, that, the other thing, than to say, well, I'm taking all my money out of Navy Federal Credit Union.
Right. Who has
I have a mortgage with you. I'm refinancing with somebody else.
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing as well.
It's going to cost me 5% more interest rate. I'm still going to do it because of this.
Can I just say, we preemptively do the victim blame as well? Like you preemptively, I don't think you intentionally did it in this context, but you said this guy had his ducks in a row. You pointed it out. So you preemptively are like, nah, he's good. And we instinctively have to do that. So, like, all right, think about this. Think about this. What do cops yell every time they're arresting someone? Stop resisting, stop resisting, stop resisting.
I don't know. I've never been arrested.
Oh, man. Buckle up. No, just after tonight, buckle up. No, this podcast. You see it endlessly, y'all. If you've ever watched an episode of Cops, you see a guy on the ground. He can't resist. He can't even twitch. He's been tased. He's been cuffed. They got a knee in his back or in his neck. He can't resist, and they're screaming, "Don't resist! Don't resist! Stop! Resist! Stop!" Why? Because they're preempting the ability to make him a victim of assault.
Right.
Man, the amount of times someone gets preemptively, like, you know, let's say someone comes into this church who's as Christians would say, damaged goods. Like, they walk in and they're getting prejudged, right? You see this person's looking tired. You see this person's, they're not showing up every Sunday. They're showing up every second Sunday. So people are prejudging in the church. Oh, they're working shifts. Well, why don't they? Church. Not this church, but like in the whole. Nah, man, you rolling up any way you want. I was sweatpants Sunday. I looked tired, yo. I did 4 cups of coffee. I looked bad.
Preemptively.
Fred judged me, and he was right. No, but seriously, in the church, culturally, we prejudge people who come in who aren't put together, like we were saying. And we preemptively are justifying anything that happens to them or is happening to them in their life without even knowing the circumstances, what led them to the bad things happening in their life.
Right.
And it's...
Well, in the case of the dude with Navy Federal,
yeah,
even if bad things happened, he got over it.
Right.
Like, he made his way out.
He
And,
did.
And a lot of people don't.
Right.
There's many reasons for it. Some people just don't put the work in. Some people just do the work and still it's you know, like I said Sunday, like, you know, one of my prayers as of late, Lord, is this my lot? Like, you know, like it ain't not like I'm out here trying to make money off the church or do, you know, like, I feel like I'm doing this with genuine heart.
right.
Where are you at? You know? And some people would say, well, God ain't blessed your church. Right? And then some people would say, nah, bro, you just need to work on some processes. Right? But I do, like, there's questions like, Lord, like, I got counterparts that started with me that are way down the road. And I'm here, like, you know, but I also understand, you know, I get it. I get it. Go ahead. Got that old.
Sometimes that road they're going down isn't
Right.
the right road necessarily. And I'm going to say, I 1,000,000% believe that if God uses you to help one person get closer to Him,
Right.
that's the measure of success.
Right.
Right.
And it's not that's the measure of blessing. That's the measure of where the anointing can be poured out is for that one person and the next one and the
Right.
next one.
No,
and
I
the
agree
next
with
one.
that.
I understand what you're saying.
I agree with
but,
that.
you know,
I think I'm just talking like from a structural level.
Right.
Like, Lord, is this a lot?
Just looking at it.
Are we going to struggle every month? Are we ever going to have enough money just to be able to go out and really be a blessing to the
able to help
community?
people.
Right.
And a lot of that, I could blame it on a spiritual reason, or I could just be like, you know, we probably need better processes.
Yeah.
We probably need to work
and,
on some stuff.
And I'm not arguing with
Right.
that. I'm just saying that you hear people say, well, your church isn't being blessed. No.
Man,
That's-
yeah. Re-understand what blessing means.
I mean,
I think at
just-
the end of the day, you know, like the case of the Navy Federal thing, like, as a church, we need to recognize, like, we have the tendency to do this kind of stuff too,
Constantly.
unbeknownst to whatever we may say in the pulpit.
Oh, yeah.
And black and white, like, we can prejudge people and we can draw judgments and we can essentially spiritually redline people.
right.
And not let people be a part or do things because we think, oh,
Right.
They don't look the part.
I'm going to say one more thing on this before we need to move on. And this is something I've said many times. A young woman should be able to walk down the middle of the worst neighborhood street wearing next to nothing and be safe.
100%.
Right.
Without question.
But that may not be wisdom.
That's different.
And there's a difference there.
What should be and what is sadly
should
different.
be safe.
Right.
But sometimes you have to have wisdom and say, maybe this isn't the wise thing to do.
Walk down the street in the nude, but carry a gat. No, don't endorse that.
God. That's something they do in New Zealand.
That sounds like a New Zealand thing.
We are pretty firearm chill down there.
Y'all have talked about it, and so you won't get to my next one that I was going to bring up.
Okay, we got time.
No, you
speed
don't.
through. Come on, don't. You are teasing me.
I'm just gonna say it, but you're gonna be so upset because you're gonna be like, "Dang,
come on,
why didn't you start with that one?"
Yeah, hit the mute button on Logan.
Me, I need you to beat me out.
Are you ready for this one? The next headline I was gonna bring up is something that came out today, 9 hours ago.
9 hours ago.
The Pope says Roman Catholic priests can bless same-sex couples.
Amen. You want me to say that again? Amen. Hold up.
Said the Pope Francis has allowed priests to bless same-sex couples, a significant advance for LGBT people in the Roman Catholic Church.
Amen.
I got a question though.
What you got?
And we got 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
Why do you think he did it now?
That's a good question. Considering what I know of his background, his philosophy, why a lot of cardinals have consistently voted against popes from that region is because of the world, South America, Latin America, is because, I don't know, I think they've got a little more humanity, a little less racism, and they're more in tune with the gospel. That's my personal view. I'm not Catholic, so, we disagree on some liturgical playground, how things play out in church Sunday stuff a lot. But ultimately, hey, man, I believe that guy loved Jesus. I believe the Catholic Church has had a lot of issues. They have always been very slow to come around to change. And the fact that he's coming out with this ahead of most of the Protestant church, high five.
Yeah.
I think he is more progressive in the way C.S. Lewis would use that word. The most progressive man is not the man who walks down the right path first, but turns around when he realizes he is on the wrong path and finds the new path.
I just wonder how this is going to change the landscape of the church, even the Christian.
It's going to make.
You're going to have a lot of things. There was that thing. Was it 7 years ago? 2017. Oh, that hurts. Where all those big famous American pastors wrote this letter not affirming homosexuality. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing that come out. I'm like, what was the point? Why'd you need to come out and say that?
Right.
That was just choosing violence and hate against them.
Yeah.
There was no need for pastors to do that. There's no need. There is a need to love people, and to try and withhold God's blessing ain't love.
I remember sitting in a part of a network that this church was a part of at one point, and there was a pastor that had he pastored a local church, and he did the wedding for a same-sex couple that was his friends, and somebody posted a picture to social media with him in it, and he wasn't in his pulpit. He didn't announce it at church. He didn't use the church. None of that. But they voted him and the church out of the
network.
The network.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then told us that we needed to stand up that Sunday and make a public statement against same-sex marriages and all this. So I was like, no.
Nah.
Why? Why would I do that?
Because it's about power and control, not about Jesus.
What is the point of me standing up and saying, hey, just want to exclude all these people from ever coming to experience the love of Jesus?
For those who aren't well versed in history, you can go back and listen and look things up for free. I got 30 seconds on this. You can go back and read the theological arguments for slavery. You can read the theological arguments against interracial marriage, and they sound oddly, suspiciously, horrendously identical to the arguments against homosexuality.
Right. Yeah,
and
Not comparing slavery to homosexuality.
no, I'm not comparing the two by any means, but the church's responses were both and the church, the anti-slavery movement came out of the humanism movement. It came out from the atheists. The church has this lie that they started it. It's a load of BS.
It's like Bishop James said. There were pastors preaching that were saying they own slaves.
They own slaves.
Right.
So when it comes to the church and the Pope saying this, high five, Pope. Took you long enough. Yeah. What you got?
Two things. One,
Fire.
I don't know a whole lot about the Pope. I mean, just what I've seen. But one thing that told me that he is legit, not too long after he became Pope, he was up at some big thing, and this little 4-year-old kid just came wandering up, and he stopped what he was doing in front of thousands of people and got down and was talking to this little kid. And I don't care if it was staged or not. You can't stage a 4-year-old. I've had a 4-year-old.
I got one.
Doesn't happen. This little kid, and he was just talking and talking, and somebody tried to come up and get him. He's like, no, it's all right. He's fine. Right. And then he stood up, and that little kid standing there holding on to his robe, swinging, and he was sharing, and that told me everything I need to know about that man.
Right. Shows more love right there. It shows more Jesus in that moment than most theologians in this country have ever shown towards anyone, in my opinion, personally.
And as far as homosexuality, LGBTQ, I've known people that have disowned their kids or been disowned because, they came out. And my wife and I talked about it. If one of my boys came home and said, this is how I am, I might say, I don't really understand. It's not something I really, it's not inside of my comprehension, but I still love you.
Right. Love don't have no condition, y'all.
And I have to, as long as I love them, and I've had friends that are homosexuals that know that I care about them deeply as people, and that's not an issue.
Right.
And that's what makes a huge
These
issue.
are descriptive terms of humanity.
Right. Yo, you want me to pose, let me just drop this before we finish. Just trust me. You just hit something that triggered my mind and thought on this. It was beautiful. It does. I'm triggered by everything. Go back in my history twitch. You said I wouldn't understand it, but I still love you. If we're image bearers of God, and if Jesus took all the sins of the world upon him, not calling this a sinner, I'm just saying in general, does that not mean God understands homosexuality? Ooh, hold up. Does that not mean God understands genocide? Does that not mean he understands all this and he loves us? So when people come out and say God's against something, you don't only not understand it, you don't understand the God you're claiming.
Right. Yeah.
Take that one step further.
Keep going.
He understands you.
Amen.
With your hateful self.
Amen. He understands you and your hateful self.
My Lord. And I still preach and love you, and I go to lunch with you. Just as racist as you can be. We can eat some rings. As long as you don't give me no racist wings, we good.
Oh, I love you, sir.
I don't even want to know what that might be.
I love you.
Anyway.
What is racist wings? Anybody had those?
Racist wings?
I don't even want to know.
Yeah, you know what racist wings are? It's when they boil the chicken and don't put seasoning on it.
Oh my God. I've seen that on social media.
White people cooking chicken?
That's just
white people cooking chicken.
Look at the little brown tips. Like, oh my God.
That's just
terrible.
Cuisine wise, I want to put this out there. Cuisine wise, I am white, but I'm not practicing.
Wow.
All right, and that said,
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas, y'all. Look under your Christmas trees for some seasoning.
be
Y'all
sure
need it.
to like, follow, subscribe, do all those things. There's a link on the podcast. There's questions underneath in the description that can tell you, where you can go to ask questions of Logan. You can send email to logan@prevail.tv.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll throw that on the screen.
Yeah. All the email, Logan at
I'm sorry, y'all.
prevail.tv.
I'm sorry. I did this tonight, and I knew they would unleash
Let it go.
So,
But I also wanted to give people a little taste of next year we're gonna unpack some
We'll unpack
some hard topics that people need to chew on a little bit.
That's
And
right.
I hope we have some guests occasionally.
Amen. Amen.
And we ain't trying to we ain't trying to make you feel bad. We want you to
No,
think. Like
ain't
that's the
right.
whole point.
Think about it.
Think.
Think about it. As always, walk a little closer to Jesus.
Yeah.
Know that you're loved.
Loved.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace out.
Peace out.